Well, let's go ahead and get started. I want to go ahead and welcome you to Capture, Organize, Print, and this is hosted by Mylio Photos and Printique. So what our goal is today is to give you an overview of Mylio Photos and a brand new integration we have with Mylio Photos and Printique that makes it super easy to get your images to Printique and get them printed and have those physical, tangible things that you can hold on to and treasure. I also want to welcome here today with me, I have Lori Rubin. She is my counterpart here at Mylio. She's going to be helping out in the chat, making sure I don't miss any of your questions. We do have a chat pod. We also have an open Q&A pod there here in Zoom. And you're welcome to post your questions there, and she'll go ahead and flag me down if there's any questions that are pertinent to what we're talking about. We'll also have some time at the end for open Q&A. We're also joined by Libby. She is from Printique. So if there are any Printique specific questions, she is going to be here to answer those. And I want to welcome you both to the session. So let's go ahead and jump into today's topic. My name is Angela Andrew, and I'm a product evangelist for Mylio. What that means is I do a lot of our education, I write our documentation, and my biggest goal is to help people be successful with our software. So I do a lot of teaching and tutorials and open Q&As and things like that. I'm also a fine art photographer. I love travel and cityscape and landscape photography, and I love to get out with my camera and travel as much as possible. I'm a photo educator. I teach people in one-on-one coaching sessions, group sessions. I've spoken at a lot of events. So I'm constantly trying to help people manage their workflows and have success with their photography. I'm also my family's memory keeper. And that's kind of a role that I took on, especially after joining Mylio, because Mylio is awesome not for just my pictures I'm taking for today and forward, but also organizing my family's historical photos. So I've been busy scanning in pictures and making sure that I'm preserving those memories for myself and for the rest of my family, which are all things that Mylio can help with. So there's a lot of stuff that Mylio Photos can do. We're going to talk today about what Mylio Photos is. So I'm guessing many of you here might be very new to Mylio Photos, might not have even tried it yet. So we're going to give you an overview of what this software is. We're going to talk about ways to gather and organize all of your memories into one place so you can enjoy them, how to keep those memories safe, which I think is really timely with some of the things that are going on here in California right now. We'll talk a bit more about that later. How to find your photos quickly, which is especially important if you're trying to print and you want to print something specific, you want to be able to find it. We'll talk about some tips on making your images print ready. And then, of course, how to send those from Mylio Photos to Printique. So lots to cover today. This is going to be kind of a high-level overview of what's possible. If you have questions on specifics, please feel free to put those into the Q&A or the chat, and I'll do my best to get those answered for you. All right, so starting off, what is Mylio Photos? Mylio Photos is an application that helps you gather and organize your lifetime of photos. And it's available on Mac, Windows, iOS, and Android. And if you have the Mylio Photos Plus subscription, which we'll talk more about here in a moment, all of those devices can talk to each other and you can access your library from anything. It's an amazing tool to be able to browse even massive photo libraries. So whether you have, 10,000 photos or 2 million or more photos, Mylio Photos is an amazing tool for helping get those things into one centralized library that you can use to find things. It's incredibly fast. It has incredible AI tools that make browsing and finding things very enjoyable. And it lets you add important details to your photos that you don't want to forget those locations and the people that are in them, the events that were happening. There are ways to add that information to your photos and preserve those details. And you can embed that information into the photos so it's available for future generations. Mylio Photos, the individual application is free to use on a single machine, and it's a cloud independent space for a lifetime of photos and videos. If you choose to step up to Mylio Photos Plus, which is our subscription product, this expands the capabilities of your Mylio Photos library and allows you to have multiple devices connected in a peer-to-peer connection that lets you access all of your media from any of your devices. So in today's world, it might not seem groundbreaking to be able to access your photos from your phone or from your tablet or your computer or while you're out and about traveling, because we're a very cloud centered world these days. But the really cool thing and revolutionary thing about Mylio Photos is that it is cloud independent. This means that your devices talk directly to each other via a peer-to-peer connection. It's a secure connection. Only your devices signed into your account can see your stuff. So you choose where your photos are stored. If you want to have an offsite copy in the cloud, that's awesome. You can totally do that. But if you're very privacy minded and want to keep things on devices that you control, you have that option as well. And you can still access your library from across town or around the world. It's really amazing. And to me, that was the game-changing thing with Mylio Photos over other products that I've worked with. Um, it also has built-in tools to help you protect your media. It can sync and replicate your media to multiple devices. So you can have multiple hard drives that have your library on it and automatically replicate that without having to push a button or take any specific action. It automates backing up so you can protect yourself against device failure and loss. And that's really, really important. It also uses what we call space saver technology, which allows Mylio Photos to store media at much smaller sizes on those smaller devices. So you can still browse your entire library on your phone or your tablet or even your laptop and not have to necessarily carry around a hard drive to hold everything. So space saver technology is really, really cool. And it gives you, like I said, all of the protection of the cloud with faster speeds, improved privacy, and at a predictable cost. We're also rolling out new family plans, which are geared towards people who want to have multiple people accessing their accounts. So whether you're talking about a household with spouses and children or potentially extended family who all want to be able to access the same group of photos, our family plans are something that are worth checking out. And they include custom setup, ongoing assistant, live support. The starter plan is for up to 5 family members. The plus plan is up to 10 family members. That plus plan even includes cloud storage should you choose to use it. And you can learn more about that at mylio.com/mylio-family. So lots of options here. So we're going to go ahead and start talking about how to use Mylio Photos. And I think that's where you're going to get the most value out of this. And to begin, we're going to talk about gathering and organizing your media. So gathering is the process of bringing in all of your pictures from all of the various sources where you might have things stored. For many of us, you're probably watching this on a computer. You have a computer, you have probably external hard drives, probably multiple ones with different files from over the years. You might even have CDs or DVDs with backups of photos, memory cards. You probably have things on cloud services. You have your phones, your tablets. Our media libraries are scattered everywhere, and it makes it so hard to find things when you need them. What Mylio aims to do is help you get them all into one location so you can enjoy them. It also has tools to help you reclaim digital files from social media, which I think is pretty cool. Now, these might not be the highest quality files because a lot of times when you upload them, those services tend to downgrade the resolution. But sometimes there's pictures on those platforms that you haven't seen in years. You might have lost the device that it was taken from. Some of those platforms, even like in the early days of Instagram, you would take a picture using their app. It would go into their service, into their feed. It didn't save a copy to your camera roll, so you didn't have a copy of that other than what lived on Instagram. Tools like this allow you to bring those pictures down into your own library so you can preserve them. That might be the only place where your kids' first steps were cataloged, or maybe that's where that last picture is that you have with that loved one who's no longer with you. There are memories there that are so terribly important. It doesn't matter that they're low resolution. This allows you to grab them, back them up, and have your own copy that you control. So that's kind of the power of gathering all of its media into one place, is having a library that you can enjoy all of your media and not have to go hunting through this hard drive or that thumb drive. And it's really kind of amazing. So what Mylio Photos does is once you bring your media in, there are physical organization things you can do that involve moving around files. But we also have what's called automatic organization. And these are the Mylio Photos views. So you can view everything in all photos, which is, as it sounds like, everything in your library. We have the life calendar, a map view, people view, albums, which albums are similar to pretty much every other platform out there. You have collections in Lightroom, you have albums in Apple Photos, and so forth. It's very similar to that. And then you have your physical folders. Mylio Photos also has AI technology and AI smart tags, which do object recognition. And those are searchable through our dynamic search and quick filters. Let me go ahead and pop over here to Mylio and give you kind of a view of what all of these look like. So right now I'm in the all photos view. You can see here at the top, all photos. And that's this little icon here in the left sidebar. The next one down is the calendar view. And if I go ahead and click on that, this brings up my life in pictures. And what it automatically does is take pictures from all of my different sources, every single folder that I've imported things from, everything that Mylio knows about, regardless of what folder it's in, and puts it in this beautiful view where I can see a timeline of my life. Now, I also mentioned that I catalog a lot of things for my family history, so I can go back and back and back. And if I get up here to, the early 2000s, we're back into pictures I scanned of my own film that I shot when I was young. And then if we go back far enough, it's going to be before I was even around, pictures I've scanned of my family. And I have things that go back to the early 1900s. And this is just the coolest thing to me, be able to go in and show this. And not only is this here on my computer, but when I'm out with my aunties or I'm visiting my 97-year-old grandmother, I can go in here and I can pull up pictures from her past and be able to show those and share those with her and even be able to get more information in history. So being able to do this from my phone, from my tablet, this is just, to me, this is game changing and such a powerful way to interact with your own personal memories. Another way you can view things in Mylio Photos is on the map. And this shows all of your pictures that have GPS and location information. Now, our modern mobile phones, these automatically will embed GPS information. So that information's there. On your other pictures, or maybe things from a DSLR or mirrorless camera, and those other older pictures, you might have to manually add that information, but you can totally do that here in Mylio. And for instance, I'm going to go ahead and zoom out here and zoom far, far out, move the map around here. Up here in Detroit, I've never personally been to Detroit, but if I go ahead and click on that, these are pictures that I've tagged with that old information. So I can see all of my pictures based on where they were taken. These different views are really great because different people think differently. If you want to see everything all in one place, that's what all photos is for. If you like to find things based on when they happened, the calendar view is awesome. And that's usually where I go. The map view, if you're someone who finds things based on where they happened, go to the map and you can just go ahead and click on an image and it'll zoom in and show you all of those things. And as you zoom in on the map, those pins get more granular and you'll have more and more detail the further you zoom in. So you can get very granular. You can even type in a specific location here to jump to that part of the map and see all of the pictures that were taken there. Next up, we have our people view. And this is where you can tag people that are important to you. As pictures come into Mylio Photos, it does facial recognition and it looks for recognizable faces. And as each face is found, it gives you the opportunity to name it. So when untagged faces are found, you'll find them here in the untagged. And you can go through and start naming these people. And if you don't know them, you can always ignore them. This is my husband, so I can go ahead and tag that right there. I'm not sure who this is, but it's in one of those historical pictures, so I need to do some research. I could ignore it, but for right now, I'm going to leave it alone because I do want to research this further. So that's one way that you can tag pictures. We also have a really cool batch tagging tool. So if you go down here to the little tools icon and choose batch face tagging, this allows you to, it groups together similar faces so you can name a bunch of them at once. And this makes it really fun and really easy to go through a big library and get things tagged. Now, I will say that it is, for me especially, an ongoing process because I'm always adding new pictures to my library. So it's never really done. And there's always more things to research, but it's a really cool process and it really helps you get in touch with who's in your life. And then when you need to find a picture, let's say you want to find a picture of your kid or your grandparent or somebody important that you want to have those pictures printed or do something with that photo, you can just come here and find pictures based on who is in that photo. And you can even do a quick little find and jump to that person. We'll talk more about that later though. All right, the next view down is albums. We talked about that very briefly. And these are virtual groupings. They're kind of like albums and many other applications. And they allow you to group things together kind of like a playlist for your music. It's very flexible. You can create whatever groupings you like, and it does not physically duplicate any pictures and it doesn't take up any additional storage. So you can say one picture can be in as many different albums as you want. It's a really, really wonderful tool for grouping things. So I have a slideshow I created here from when my husband retired from the military. I have slideshow here that I did for my mom and I for Mother's Day. I have different groupings for many, many different things, for different demos that I do, different ones for different family things that I've done. There's just an infinite number of ways that you can use albums. So it's flexible and it adapts to many different ways of thinking through your photos. Finally, we have our folders. And these are the physical folders that live on your computer and hard drives. Mylio doesn't physically hold your pictures, it points to where they live on your storage. So whether that folder is on your computer or on an external drive, these are all actual folders that I could, if I needed to, access in my file system. So for example, this photos folder, if I right click on this and say show in Finder or reveal in Finder, that's going to show me that folder where it lives in my system. Now, when using Mylio Photos, you very rarely need to go into the file system to do that, but it's really nice to know that you can. Nothing is held in a proprietary format. All of your stuff is accessible no matter which device that you're on. So that's one of the other differentiating features about Mylio Photos is you always have access to your stuff. It's not locked away in some sort of proprietary format. All right, let's go ahead and jump back over to the presentation here. And we talk through ways you can automatically organize. I want to talk a little bit about some of those more manual types of organization, and this is the more traditional stuff that you're probably familiar with. We have folders on our computer. We have those albums where we can manually group things, and Mylio also has a thing called categories. So when you're organizing the folders on your computer, what I recommend for most people, and this isn't like a hard and fast rule, but my recommendation is to make a by date system. And I like to use a folder system that has year, month, day, and a short description. And that's going to let me at a glance, if I'm in my file system, be able to have an idea of what's in that folder. Now, people often ask me, well, should I have folders for specific events or for certain people? In my opinion, that's what albums are for. And if it's for people, that's what that people view is for. But there's a lot of different ways that you can organize. This is just the way that I've found that works best for me, and I've seen work best for most people. So this is my recommendation when you're organizing your folders is to consider a by date system. Whatever format you choose, the most important thing is to stay consistent. Choose a format and stick with it because if you decide you want to do something different down the road, it's a massive undertaking to go back and change everything before that. So pick something, stick with it, and it's probably going to be just fine. Again, you can do all sorts of virtual containers with albums. That's where you want to organize things by projects, by different trips, different events, live events, things like that. And then categories in Mylio, this gets a little bit more granular, and you can categorize things by work, personal, family, family history, and there's many others, and you can customize those categories to fit your needs as well. I'm not going to go too far into it today, but those categories power a lot of different things inside of Mylio, and you can even switch between different workspaces that focus on those different categories. So if you have a library, or like me, maybe you've got your family pictures in there, and you have personal pictures, and you have work pictures, maybe you're a professional photographer, and they're all in this one central library. Sometimes you might want to switch between personal and work, or that project, that family history project you're doing. Categories allow you to do that, and it's really very cool.
Angela,
All
before
right.
you go to the next section, since we're on topic, Marianne was asking, it seems albums are like the drawers in a filing cabinet. Is that right?
So I would say actually your folders are going to be more like that. So you're going to have your folders, and think of when you're thinking about folders, let me go here to Mylio. These are going to be like the physical manila folders you have on your desk that you pull it out of the filing cabinet. This is the physical folder. Your computer is the filing cabinet, or your external drive might be the filing cabinet. Albums are a little bit different because they're virtual. Folders are physical, that's where things actually live. And albums let you have that kind of virtual that you can take a picture and it just points to these different locations, but it doesn't physically duplicate it. Um, Lori, I know there's a couple of good articles and videos we have on the difference between folders or albums. Would you mind sharing those in the chat?
Yep, I got them up there. Thank you.
Awesome, you're perfect. All right. Any other questions on that? All right, looks like we're good. Let's jump back over to the presentation and talk about metadata. So we've touched on this a little bit, but there's a lot of different things that you can edit about your images to preserve specific details. Now, with our modern pictures, things that are coming off your phones, your mirrorless cameras, your DSLRs, you're not probably going to need to modify the date very often unless, there's something really wonky with your camera. But you can add a title and a caption to describe what was happening in that particular picture. You can add keywords and you can add your copyright and IPTC information. Again, we have things like categories. You can add people tags and add that location information for images that don't already have it. So let's take a look at that here really quick. I'm going to go here to my all photos view and let's just pick this picture here of the San Diego skyline. Now, this image already does have GPS information. You can see that here across the top, and I'm going to open up the info panel here on the right. And this shows me all of my metadata. So here's where I could edit the timestamp. If this was a historical picture, maybe something that I scanned, I can click on this little ellipse and I can go ahead and change the format of this date and make, excuse me, any changes I need to make to that date format. I can also add a title and a caption. If I need to rename the file name, I can do that here. We can add keywords. Mylio also does AI smart tags. So these are terms that it associated with these pictures automatically. And you can change this. So if you say this image doesn't actually have the sky, you can go ahead and hit that little X and that AI smart tag will no longer be associated with this picture. The check mark is one that actually lets you promote a smart tag to a physical keyword. So one quick little differentiation is these are just stored in Mylio. Keywords are actually stored in the metadata that travels with your image. So if that is an important word that you want to have saved with that image, you can go ahead and click that check mark and you'll see that that promotes it to a keyword. IPTC is where you can add creator information like your copyright. So if you're a professional photographer or a serious amateur, this might be very important to you. Here we have those categories that I mentioned before. And if there were any people in this image that we'd tagged, they would be listed here. If we scroll down a little bit further, we can see on the little mini map here, there is the location information and it has all of that information, including the GPS coordinates already listed. If I had added this picture to any albums, that would also be listed here. So there's a ton of information you can add or modify about an image to make sure that those important details are preserved. Now, I wouldn't necessarily recommend going through and doing that for every single photo in your library because that can be very overwhelming and daunting. But for the ones that are the most important of those really important people in your life, or maybe those favorite trips that you've taken, that might be worth adding some of that additional information. All right, so we've talked about metadata. We've talked a little bit about tagging people. So I mentioned batch tagging and tagging individual faces. If you're just going through your library and you see something that you want to tag, let me go ahead and just grab this picture of my husband here. Over here on the right, there's a little face tagging icon. If you turn that on, it's going to highlight any faces that need to be named. In this case, I've already named him here and it's got his tag. And if we scroll down or scroll up here rather, you can see he's here listed as a known person in this image. And you can always just turn off that circle. But if you want to see who's in a photo that you've tagged, you can turn that on and see it. And that's very helpful. You can also manually tag for video. So we're not going to get too much into video today, but Mylio Photos also allows you to add manual tags. So AI facial recognition isn't perfect. Sometimes if a face is in profile or maybe you got the back of somebody's head, maybe you still want to tag that person was there, but obviously Mylio is not going to necessarily recognize that that is a face. So you can manually tag that. You can do this also for pets, which is a lot of fun. I do this definitely for my cats. And if you have a video file, you can also associate a name with a video. And this is really important to me because I have a lot of digitized home movies from my grandmother that my dad had digitized are now in my Mylio library. Mylio also holds video in addition to photos. And I can say who was in those videos and have that manually tagged so I can go through because a lot of those videos happened before I was even around. And luckily, my dad made notes of who was in those so I can add those tags. So there's a lot of great information that you can add to your photos. All right. Are there any other questions about that, Lori, before we jump on to keeping your memories safe?
Not at this time.
All right, cool. All right. So this particular topic feels very timely to me. So I am located in Southern California, and while I'm in an area that is, at least for the moment, perfectly safe, a few hours north of me, there are some really bad fires raging up in the Los Angeles area. And when you talk about keeping your memories safe, a lot of times we go to kind of those worst case scenarios. We want to make sure that if something happens, we don't lose our photos. So in the days of paper photo albums, if you had to evacuate your house, your photo albums were probably pretty high on the list of things to grab if you had time to grab things on your way out. Today, I was actually going over the list kind of with my husband last night, trying to figure out, okay, if something happened nearby, what's on the top of our list to grab? Obviously, we grab our cats, we grab medications and cat food. And then it's like, okay, once we do that, once we get those absolute essentials, what else do we get? And grabbing my computer, my hard drives used to be really, really high on that list. Today, because I have offsite cloud storage and I have a really solid backup plan with my photos, I'm not nearly as worried about that. Now, if I have time, I definitely will grab those things because I really don't want to have to replace them. But if for some reason something happened to my house and I lost my computer and I lost all my hard drives, all of my memories I know I can get back because they are preserved offsite. So this is one of the things that Mylio Photos helps facilitate is keeping your memories safe. So I know a lot of people around the country and around the world have gone through some really terrible natural disasters over the last few years. If you were in one of those situations and you didn't have something in place, this might be the time to go ahead and do that. So we're going to talk about protection vaults. This is a concept with Mylio Photos. So a protection vault is any device that you designate to hold your entire library. Typically, this is going to be an external hard drive or a computer with a ton of storage. So you're going to want to get like a big hard drive and you're going to designate that as a vault. And Mylio will automatically sync all of your original quality photos to that vault, along with all of your metadata, all the information about your pictures, your Mylio catalog, and all of those associated files. And this is really important because it's very worry-free. Once you set up that vault, Mylio takes care of the syncing for you. If you have mobile devices connected to your Mylio setup as well, it will have the ability to sync the pictures from your phone also to that vault. And this just takes a lot of pressure off because a lot of times people lose their phones, people lose devices, devices break, things crash. Having that vault with everything is so, so important. You want to make sure that you have at least two of them. So when you create a vault, you might have things scattered around different places, but a vault centralizes it. And then having at least one other vault. So having in this case, having say two external drives that are essentially mirrors of each other that Mylio takes care of syncing for you can protect you against device failure or loss. Now, a few things that I want to kind of go through step by step. The first thing is the gather stage. We talked about consolidating your library, getting everything into Mylio Photos. Then you add that vault drive and let Mylio get everything into a single location. You then want to have multiple protection vaults for backup because hard drives fail. That's just kind of a fact of life. They are not meant, they don't stand the test of time. I've had so many hard drives fail on me over the years. Luckily, I only ever had to deal with bad data loss once, and I don't wish that on anybody. So make sure you have multiple protection vaults or replication of your most important things. So with Mylio, you can set up at least two protection vaults for redundant backup. Mylio Photos does everything, keeps everything in sync for you. So that's really nice. And then you do have the option to add offsite cloud storage. And we have Mylio Photos has its own cloud storage that you can opt into if you like. You can also bring your own cloud. So Mylio Photos works with Microsoft OneDrive, Google Drive, or any S3 cloud service. And then we're talking like AWS, Backblaze B2, I think Wasabi does one, iDrive E2. There's a bunch of different S3 services out there. And you can use your own cloud storage with Mylio Photos. And that's the part that I feel is really protecting me right now with all of these things happening with these fires, these really strong winds here in my area, is knowing that if I had to get out quickly, I grab my cats, I grab those essentials. If I don't have time to grab my computer and my hard drives, I know I have that offsite backup copy. So that gives me a huge amount of peace of mind. And I really want that for you too. So think that through. Mylio Photos is one way to accomplish this. And I think it's a really elegant way, but there's a lot of different ways to make sure your stuff is backed up. So just make sure you have more than one copy of your stuff. And don't just keep everything all in one basket. That's the best thing I can recommend there. All right, so next we're going to jump into a little bit more fun topic, not so doom and gloom, and that is finding your photos fast. So Mylio Photos uses what we call dynamic indexing, and it takes all of the information about your photos and puts it into the database so it can be searched. So this happens when you import new media. So when you import media, it can seem like it takes a long time because all of this is happening when you import. Once that import is done, searching in Mylio is blazing fast. So what it does is it looks for object recognition, which is those AI smart tags. It goes and looks at everything in your image and finds recognizable things. It also does optical character recognition, or OCR. And this means it reads text in photos. So if you have a picture of a street sign or a picture of a bookshelf, it can find text in that image. It also does face detection. We talked about that earlier. So it's going through and finding recognizable faces. It also scans all of the metadata that's part of your image. So all of the information about your camera, any user added copyright information, and GPS information and location information. So all of that is done when you first import media, and all of that is indexed in Mylio Photos. What that takes us to is being able to use dynamic search. So let's jump over here to Mylio. And I'm going to go ahead and go back to the grid view here. And you just need to click on this little dynamic search, little magnifying glass icon here at the left. And I already have a search pulled up here for cat, so we'll go ahead and run with that. That's just an easy one to do in my library. So you can see I've got photos. I have folders that have the word cat in them. And there's images here with text and photos, so the OCR. I do want to point this out really quick here. So I've got this image here of my cat on the bookshelf, but I was looking at this earlier and going, okay, this is pulled out as being flagged, being found with OCR. What is it in this image that made cat be found? So I zoomed in really close. I'm going to grab my zoom, and I started looking at the books on the bookshelf, and I found this right here. There's a book here called Cat Heaven, and that is what it found in the picture. So that's how powerful the search, especially the OCR, is inside of Mylio. It's really, really quite impressive. But what dynamic search does is it allows you to take a look at your entire library and look for something. So it's very, very broad. So the next step to narrow things down is going to be quick filters. And this helps you narrow down the results. So we can take this search, and I'm going to go ahead here to photos and choose view all. And that's going to give me all of my photos that have anything to do with the word cat. And I want to narrow this down to pictures of a specific cat that were taken with my iPhone. So I can go here to open the sidebar, and this brings up our quick filters. Here at the top, I'm just going to type in cat again. And I want to find things that the AI recognizes a cat. So here's my AI smart tag cat, and I'm going to go ahead and pin that. So now we have things that are only recognized with the AI. I can then go down here to the bottom here by camera and lens and choose by camera. And let's just say kind of generically by Apple here. And that's going to show me everything that was taken with one of my iPhones. So that's narrowed my library down considerably. So that's how you can use quick filters here in the library. The next step to narrow things down even further is the find tool, which I briefly mentioned earlier. And it's to help you locate something on that current page that you're on. So from this, let's say I only want to find pictures of William. William was a cat that my mom had a few years ago. He was a real sweetie. And I want to go back and find pictures of him. So I'm going to do a Command or Control F, and I'm going to type in William. And that's going to jump me down here in the list to pictures of William. So that's how those three tools work together in Mylio Photos to help you find images. And it's a really great way to sort through whether you have 10,000 images or 2 million images to find specific photos. And that kind of leads us into the next thing is finding and selecting pictures to print. These same tools allow you to find pictures of specific people, of specific events, and different categories that you might want to consider having things printed. For me, I typically go for my 4 and 5 star images. So let's go ahead and do that really quick. I'm going to go ahead and clear out my filters, go back here to the all photos view. And I want to find just my best images because those are the ones I'm going to be most likely to print. So I'm going to go here to by rating, label, and flag, and we're going to choose 4 and 5 star images. And I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit bigger here so we can see what we're looking at and take a look at some of these photos and decide what I want to print. And I'm going to go ahead and go to this carousel picture. I think it's really kind of fun. It's very pretty. I love the motion of it. And let's say I want to go ahead and get this printed. Let's go ahead and jump back here to the presentation. Are there any questions on selecting photos or search or anything else, anything we need to address before we move on, Lori?
Yes, Lisa had a question. She was wondering if you had tagged those photos with William.
I probably did. It was either something I put into a caption, a keyword, or I might have manually face tagged him. Great question. Anything else?
That's it.
Perfect. All right, so let's talk about creating print ready edits. So a lot of the pictures that I have already pulled up here as my 4 and 5 star images, these are already edited. Once I get to the point of adding a 4 or 5 star, I've already spent some time with that image. But for a lot of people, if you're going through and finding pictures of your kids, maybe you're just pulling them straight off of your cell phone and you want to go ahead and make prints of those. So there's some things that I recommend doing before you send pictures off to a print lab. So you have the option in Mylio Photos to do basic editing and cropping. And this is going to make your photo look its best before you send it out. Because there's really nothing worse than sending out a print and getting it back and realizing, you know what, I could have done better. So take the time to look at your images and make sure they look good. There's also a few external editors, and you can use external photo editors with Mylio Photos. Three that I really recommend for more in-depth editing. You've got Radiant Photo 2, which does amazing AI image improvement. If you're going to get really creative, Luminar Neo is a ton of fun. And if you have problems to solve in your image, and by that I mean maybe the image is too small, you cropped it and now it's too small to print, Topaz Photo AI can help you make it bigger. If the image was taken and it was really dark and you brightened it up and now you have all that splotchy image noise, the little digital grain, it can help fix some of that. Now, it's not perfect and it's not magic. So if it's really bad, it can only do so much, but it does definitely help. It also can sharpen images. So maybe if you didn't nail the focus, let's say you got a picture of your kid, the nose is in focus, but the eyes are slightly out of focus. Topaz Photo AI is awesome for stuff like that, and it can help fix some of those problems. So those are three tools outside of Mylio Photos that I really highly recommend. But for basic edits, you can do quite a lot here in Mylio. I'm going to jump over here to my library really quick, and I'm going to just go out of my filter. Let's find something that I haven't edited. Let's just grab one of these. This was at the fair. This is they had a like a puppet up on stilts kind of doing things. And let's say I wanted to make this better for printing. I'm going to go over here to the edit tools. You can also click edit here. And we have several presets that you can use. And you also have a lot of your basic adjustments here for tone, color, and so forth that you can use to make these images better. So I a lot of times will recommend using auto color, and that's just going to pop the color a little bit. If there's a color cast, maybe the colors are a little too magenta or a little too green, this will fix a lot of that. Auto tone is awesome for images that need some serious help with contrast. It also works really, really well on black and white photos. So you can go ahead and make those kind of adjustments, and then if needed, come in here and make other further tweaks to make your image look good. So we can go ahead and pull down some of those highlights and maybe bring up the shadows a little bit more. And you can even go up here and see, okay, what have we done? So there's the before and the after. So if you're pulling snapshots off your phone that you're intending to have printed, take a little bit of time to make those images look their best. All right, so jumping back to my 4 and 5 star images here, and let's find something that we want to print here. We're going to go with the carousel. Once you've made your images look good, then it's time to send those images off to Printique. So we're going to go ahead and do this right from Mylio Photos. So this is brand new. We just launched it last month and we're just starting to promote it, and it's really cool and it makes printing things so easy. You just go to the share icon in Mylio and you say post to Printique. You log into your account or you create one if you don't have one and choose post, and that sends it directly to the Printique website. No need to do any external exports or anything like that. And it chooses the proper format for the best print. So let's go ahead and do that together. I'm going to work with this image here, and I'm going to go over here to the share icon and choose post Printique. And if you haven't logged in with Mylio Photos and Printique before, you'll get a pop-up asking you to either log into your Printique account or create a new account. Go ahead and do that, and then you're going to get to this window. It's got your file name here, and then you can choose the gallery that you want this to go to on the Printique website. By default, it's going to go to a Mylio Photos gallery, but you can go ahead and click on that. And if you have other galleries here, you can choose a different gallery, or we can just say new, and we can call this fair, because this was captured at the fair, and hit save. So now that's going to go to a new gallery. You just need to confirm that you have the right to publish this content. This means that this picture is yours or you have permission to have it printed. We do care a lot about copyright, so you do need to confirm that that image is yours. Also, our integration is only good for USA and Canada. So if you want pictures shipped to one of those locations, this is going to work for you. If you're outside of that, unfortunately, yeah, it's not going to work. All right, so go ahead and check those boxes and go ahead and choose post. And that's going to go ahead and send that image right over to Printique. Now I'm going to jump over to my browser here really quick. And I was pretty pleased to see this morning that Mylio is right here on the front page of Printique. That's awesome. And I'm going to just jump over here to myself here and go here to my photo galleries. And we're going to see here, here's Fair. And there's that image that I just uploaded. It is so fast. If you have a good internet connection, and it doesn't even have to be like super fast, this works really well. So that picture is now in my Printique gallery, ready to print. Some of the favorite things that I like to do here, I love the books. I actually was really kind of jazzed with my mini book that I ordered, but I also do a lot of wall decor. And when I do this, I think the metal prints for a lot of the type of work that I do are really outstanding. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this, and we're going to go ahead and select a size. We're going to go with a rectangle. Oh, let's go ahead and go with a panoramic. And let's see what we've got here. Let's go ahead and do a 10 by 30 and choose create now. Now I know this is going to crop a little bit. That's not the exact aspect ratio of that picture, but I think it'll be close enough. From here, we choose Printique galleries. And again, there's that fair option. We're going to choose open and select that image. And then we can go ahead and choose how we want this picture placed. And I think, maybe right about there. This might not be the exact right format, but actually I think that can work. That looks pretty cool. And if you're happy with that, you can go ahead and say add to cart. It also does give you a quality indicator right here. So based on the size of this photo and the size that I'm wanting to print it at, I might want to go back to using something like Topaz Photo AI and actually make this bigger. It's still going to be a decent print, but I like to have it up here in more excellent range. That's just my personal taste. You also have this option here for color correction. If you haven't done much in the way of editing before, or you're really kind of unsure if it looks its best, go ahead and check that box. And that's going to kind of give that image a little bit of pop. And they do their own color correction there at Printique. Now, if you're a professional photographer and you have taken a lot of time to dial in exactly how you want your image to look, go ahead and leave that unchecked, and that's going to be the best choice for you. Once you're happy with your image, go ahead and say add to cart, and you can complete your purchase. And it's that easy to go ahead and order things from Mylio Photos and Printique. This integration has just been so much fun, and I've really enjoyed how easy it is to get these beautiful things made. So let's go ahead and jump back over here to the presentation. And I think we've covered pretty much everything I wanted to go through today. I know it was a lot and it was kind of high level. So if you have additional questions or you want to learn more, come to community.mylio.com. This is a community that Lori and I primarily run, and we have a lot of different live events and tutorials and things like that to help you get more familiar with Mylio Photos. So please feel free to visit us there, and we would love to have you and answer any other questions that you have as maybe you marinate on this throughout the rest of the week. We also have some great offers for everyone who attended this session. If you are new to Mylio Photos and you would like to check it out, we have discounts 15% off for both the solo and family plans. So go ahead and enter either solo 15 or family 15 at checkout. And for those of you who are ready to start making some really cool stuff with Printique, you can also enter January 15 at checkout on the Printique website for 15% discount site-wide. And that one does it ends at the end of this month, January 31st. So make sure you take a look at that and check that out. I do want to go ahead and open the floor up for questions now. Actually, I'm going to switch back to that screen so you guys can grab that if you like. And we'll take a look and see if there's anything else that you guys would like to learn about.
I think you answered all the questions so far. So if there are any new questions, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I'm taking a look here at the chat and seeing if there's anything. All right, and we also just popped one more poll up onto the screen, and these are just a few more questions. Actually, Lori, it looks like the pre-poll that's up there.
Right.
Might want to see if we can grab the post poll.
Yeah, I'm grabbing right now.
Awesome, thank you. All right, and I don't see anything in the Q&A. I'm going to go ahead and hang out for a few more minutes, give you guys a chance to answer this poll here at the end. We just popped up the ending poll, so let us know what you guys think about this session. I hope you really enjoyed it. There's a lot that we covered, but Mylio Photos is capable of so much, and it's such an amazing tool for managing your lifetime of memories. I hope that it looks interesting to you, and I really do hope that you'll check it out. If you have questions, again, like I said, you can find us at community.mylio.com. And if you're ready to purchase, just go to mylio.com or mylio.com/myliofamily to learn more about purchasing. But if you just have questions about the app, you can find me and Lori at the community, and that's probably going to be the best way to go. All right. All right. Well, if there are no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for today. I want to thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Lori, for helping out with the chat and making sure I didn't miss anybody's questions. Libby, thank you so much for being here. I didn't see any Printique specific questions pop up, but we really appreciate you coming as well. We're going to be hosting this webinar a couple more times later this month. It's going to be the same webinar, but if you feel like you want to watch it again, there will be 2 more opportunities. So otherwise, please join in one of the events that Lori and I host on community.mylio.com. We hope to see you there, and that's it for now. Thanks, everyone.